All right, good afternoon, traders. Today is April 1st, 2025. April Fool's Day. My name is John Carrigan. I moderate the BYOB Trading Room. This is the Market Wrap Up, Trade Review. Let's go take a look at the markets today. All right. All right, so what do we have? Let's take a look at the 10-minute chart. Let's pick up a clean one. And let's try this one right here. All right, so what do we have today? We had price action, came down, all right into this. See, that's the double bottom anchored VWAP low right there. Why do I call it the double bottom? Because we had a bottom here. All right, and that started the relief rally up to here. All right, and this would be the double bottom right there. So that is the double bottom anchored VWAP low right there. So trash those out, zoom back in. All right, so we pulled into the anchored VWAP low here. All right, 2025 anchored VWAP low, bounced off of that. All right, pretty much just like almost like I kind of thought price might do. Pull back into that. That would be normal. All right. And then rip and make a new high. So we went all the way from this anchored VWAP low. Now we're going to take the relief rally high anchored VWAP. All right. And you can see we came right into the relief rally high anchored VWAP. And then from there, we broke down and came back and visited the double bottom anchored VWAP low right there. Okay, so we went down, up, down, up. So where am I expecting price to go tomorrow? I'm looking for this area right here. All right, and then a pullback to probably VWAP right around maybe a half back. Right about here, kind of in the middle, right about there, making a higher low and then ripping back up here, probably to make a higher high, hopefully around 566.27. There's a micro open gap up there. So this is what I'm kind of expecting price may do. Pull back there and then rip to higher highs. We'll see. I don't think it will be that simple, but that's what I'm kind of expecting. Now, there may be some pit stops along the way. All right, of course, there'll be some turbulence when we get to this anchored VWAP, the relief rally high anchored VWAP right about here. Okay, so when we get to that, there'll be a little bit of turbulence, but I think we get through it, consolidate, and then move up to that open gap that's overhead. All right, that's what I'm kind of expecting price to do. We'll see what happens. All right, now, all right, let's take a look at a few other things. Let me clear those off. All right, if we get past this area here, all right, we have an uptrend line which starts from here and shoots all the way through there. So if we get past that open gap, all right, and we consolidate on top of it up there after visiting this breakdown candle high, I'm expecting price to come up to the back side, okay, of this uptrend line. Hopefully we can pass through it and resume our relief rally. All right, we'll see what happens though. All right, that's what I'm expecting price to do. So on the 10-minute, let's go visit the 10-minute one more time here. Let's zoom in. So on the 10-minute, we got a 10-minute uptrend going into the close. So we'll look for continuation of that 10-minute uptrend. All right, so we'll see what happens with that. On the 2-hour, all right, on the 2-hour, we have a 2-hour uptrend going into the close. On the daily chart, we have, let me move this up. Okay, still in a downtrend. Okay, we can't negate the downtrend till we take out this high. See that little doji candle up there? We got to take that out in order to negate the downtrend. Here's a low, here's a low. We made a lower low. So we're still in downtrend status. Okay, but we seem to be moving up at this time. Almost as if we're starting a new relief rally. All right, so there's the daily chart. All right, and you can see price action, got a higher low and a higher high, closing inside the bearish trap, closing underneath the falling 17. That's the red dots right here. That's the 17. Instead of being a line, we made it into dots. All right, so closing underneath the 17. All right, closing. Let's see, all-time high anchored VWAP, which belongs, let me drag this, let me move this out of the way, and this out of the way, and there should be an anchored VWAP around here somewhere. There we go. Move that up there, okay? Underneath the anchored VWAP, the high anchored VWAP right there. All-time high anchored VWAP, we're still underneath it. Okay, we're still underneath the midpoint right here, all right? So we're just neutral, all right? If we happen to break into the upper third, we'll be bullish, all right? Right now, we're just neutral. So there's SPY, okay? If you followed SPY on the game plan, we'll see if that worked out today. We kind of had an idea of where price might be going from the beginning, okay? So you never got below the pivot, so there was no need to play to trade anything bearish. We like the 3 DTE options, Friday options, and we like the 10 days till expiration Friday options. Either one, 3 days or 10 days. We like them $2 to $5 out of the money, all right, because they tend to be a little bit cheaper for our small accounts, all right, and they offer more. They offer less risk. Again, with less risk comes less performance. All right, if you want the best performing option is going to be the 0 DTE in the money. That's going to give you almost penny for penny performance. All right, so but we sacrifice a little bit of performance to take on less risk. All right, especially in this whippy market where we have $3 candles right through here. You take this candle right here, 556.21. And the low, 553.14. That's a $3 candle. If you've got 10 in the money options, that's $3,000 your account just dropped inside of 10 minutes. Okay? If you're on the wrong side. If you're on the wrong side. Okay? If you're on the right side, super duper reward. All right? Okay, just saying that it works for you as well as it works against you. Okay, so here's SPY. There's the game plan. You can see price action. We had a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP right here. We traded this right off of this low into the double bottom low anchored VWAP all the way up to the top up here, where we then sold everything that we had and let it free fall back here. And probably I was collecting or accumulating on the pullback back into here, and then we rode it right back up. Okay, and then I was selling off into the rally. Okay, on the SPY. So again, we're expecting price to move. All right, kind of up here, pull back to the half back, and then hopefully up to 566. We'll see what happens. All right, so there's SPY on the game plan. And let's go take a look at the QQQ. Let's flip to a different one. All right, let's take a look at the weekly. Okay, on the weekly, you can still see we made lower lows down here. Here's a low. We made a lower low, so that puts us in a downtrend on the weekly chart as well. It's just a label. Okay, in order to negate the weekly downtrend, guess what? We have to come all the way up here and take out that high in order to negate the downtrend. All right, again, it's just a label. All right, so there's the weekly on the SPY. Let's go take a look at QQQ. Look at that on the daily chart. QQQ kind of got the same candle as SPY, higher low, higher high, closing inside a bearish trap, closing underneath the falling 17, closing underneath the all-time high anchored VWAP, closing underneath the midpoint, still in the lower third down here, okay? See this? These are the quad lines. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. Still in the lower third, so this is still bearish. Okay, so that's QQQ. Let's take a look at FNGU. All right, FNGU, let me take that out and take that out. All right, price action, higher low, higher high. Again, just like everybody else. Seems like they all got the same candle. Closing inside or just under a bearish trap right here, under the falling 17, under this pink line, that's the all-time high anchored VWAP, underneath the midpoint. Notice in the lower third, that's still bearish down there. Okay, as long as they stay in the lower third, they're going to be bearish. All right, so let's take a look at IWM. Okay, IWM got a little bit different, higher low, higher high, closing under the bearish trap, under the falling 17, that's the red dots, closing under the all-time high anchored VWAP, that'd be the pink line, under the uptrend line, that's the gold line, okay, and the green dash under the midpoint, down here in quadrant 1, that's bearish. Okay, you move up, you give it up, and more, okay, that's bearish. So you move up, you give it up, and more, that's bearish. Okay, if you move up and hold the higher ground, that's bullish. If you move down, hold the lower ground, that's bearish. We're moving down and we're holding the lower ground. That's bearish. Okay, let's take a look at Diamond Dow. Okay, we got Diamond Dow got a, I'm just going to call it an inside day. It's a lower high and a higher low. Closing inside a bearish trap. Under, see the dots, it's under the dots. Under the 17, see it's under the pink line. Under the all-time high anchored VWAP. Underneath the gold line, that's the uptrend line. Okay, over the midpoint. Okay, so it's really on the bullish side of the neutral line, not in the upper third, so it's just neutral right here. There's Diamond Dow. All right, let's take a look at our technicals, T2122. So we ripped out of the sell zone all the way into the buy zone today, where the bears threw us out again. All right, they booted us from the buy zone, airborne, all the way down to the midpoint, and we bounced, and then we wound up coming into the seller's chop zone. Nice rip in the morning right here. Okay, so we came down, all right, knocked on the door of the oversold zone right here. Knocked on the door, all right, the bulls kicked us out, airborne, all the way up to the buy zone, and then we bounced into the midpoint, and then we went down the stairs into the seller's chop zone. So we finished off in the seller's chop zone. Good news is we broke this downtrend line right here. Okay, hopefully this is not a new downtrend line. And it very well could be. All right, but we broke this downtrend line. All right, so there's price action for T2122. Let's take a look at T2123. All right, 15-minute chart, T2123. Okay, you can see selling, just like the SPY, buying, all right, then selling, and then buying. So red, green, just moving to the right. Again, we didn't fill any bearish gaps. We didn't make any higher highs. Okay, so it feels like a relief rally, but I'm just saying we didn't make any higher highs. all we really did was gap way down, all right, and then move up and hold this ground up there. That's all we did. From the bigger perspective, okay, we're still underneath, inside of a bearish gap we haven't filled. We're underneath the 200, okay, and if we zoom way out, okay, you can see we're still in a big bear flag that's breaking down at this time. Okay, so nothing really bullish happening yet. Okay, we're moving up, kind of melting up, but nothing bullish happening here other than the 10-minute uptrends that we see throughout T2123. Let's go take a look at the 3-bar chart. Okay, 3-bar chart. Okay, again, you can see we went from green into red, came down here. See this bottom? This is a nice V bottom. Okay, that's not happening here. This has got a bear flag. All right, price comes down and just stays down. It just thump right there, and it just moves over to the right. And again, if you linger down here too long without bouncing up, guess what? You get another breakdown. So we're in the midst of another breakdown. Okay, price action lingered there way too long. All right, see how we came down and we went over to the right. We stayed down too long, and now we're in the midst of a breakdown. We're only part of the way through that. We'll see. It might be a failed breakdown. We'll see what happens, okay? Hopefully it is a failed breakdown, and they wind up having to go back all the way up here and test those highs to see if they're going to hold. We'll see what happens. We won't know till, well, the remainder of the week and next week. We'll see what happens with that. Okay, so there's T2123, FNGU, or FNGA. Let's take a look at that today. This is where all the action came from. It definitely did not come from T2123, which is probably small caps, mid caps. All right, so it did not come from T2123. The majority of the bullishness that we experienced today all came from the 10 securities inside this ETN. All right, so price action got bullish from the beginning of the day almost to the end of the day with a looked like a 15-minute candle, so a 4 martini lunch right there, and then they resumed after coming back. Okay, so again, not making any higher highs on the bigger time frame yet. Okay, this is the last high really right there. Still got to take that high, still got to climb on top of this 200 SMA. Okay, still caught underneath that. All right, looking like we made like a higher low here. Yeah, that's great on the smaller time frame, but we need something. We need this to kind of transition or transcend into a higher time frame. On the smaller time frames, yes, we have uptrends happening here. Still need to take out that high, or at least recover 50% of this pullback. All right, so there's that high of the pullback. We're still down here in the lower third. All right, just to, show you what's relevant, this is the bearish territory still. Okay, when you're still in the lower third, that's the bearish territory. Okay, when you're up at the midpoint, that's the neutral. You get up here in the upper third, that's the bullish area. All right, notice we're still in the bearish area of the move down. All right, still in the lower third, so it's still bearish. So there's FNGA, although it did move up and it did carry the NASDAQ and the SPY with it today. That was good. Looks like we made a higher low right there under the 17. That's nice. And we're in the midst of trying to make a higher high. Hopefully we can come up to the midpoint, maybe do them both at the same time. The midpoint and the 200, at least spike them, maybe consolidate underneath them. That would be nice, FNGA. Okay, so we're moving up on the smaller time frame. All right, but still in the lower third. Okay, we got to get out of there. We got to start making higher highs. Good news, we filled a bearish gap. Okay, that's something that T2123 failed to do. Okay, see this bearish gap, T2123 still hasn't got it done after 2 days of trading. Okay, see they're weak. All right, still weakness here. All right, we did move up, but there's still weakness, unable to fill it after 2 days. Okay, FNGA, a little bit better off. Not much, because it's still in the lower third. So there's FNGA on the 15-minute chart. If we're going to have a decent relief rally, we're going to need the FNGA. Okay, because this is the most heavily weighted stocks in the QQQ and the SPY. Without this, we don't stand a chance. Okay, FNGA. All right, so we got to climb up here and start challenging that fading 200 SMA. So there's FNGA. Let's go take a look at a few sectors today. We're going to start off with XLE. Okay, XLE, this is one of the better sectors that's out there right now that's having some good fortune, I'll call it. Okay, got a higher low and a higher high, closing over a trap. See the trap? Here's the candles. There's the 3. That's a bullish trap. Closing over a bullish trap. Over, see the green dots? A rising 17 EMA. Closing over this pink line. That is a 12-month high anchored VWAP right there. Closing over that. We got 2 downtrend lines closing over that. And notice we're closing in the upper third of the quad lines. Okay, that's bullish up there. And the nice thing that I like to see is price action is moved up and it's holding the higher ground. That is a bullish environment right there. All right, so that's looking good. Okay, they're just consolidating. They can stay there for a week or two. That would be great if they could just stay there for a week or two and then have another breakout and start consolidating on top of that consolidation. Anytime you get consolidation on top of prior consolidation, okay, that will be a bullish environment. So if we get consolidation that manifests up here in quadrant 4, that will be a bullish environment, as well as being over in the upper third will also be a bullish environment. So you look for the clues. All right, you look at the candles, not just the candles. All right, but you look at what they are doing. They're telling a story. Okay, they're telling a story that this is bullish by being in the upper third, by holding the higher ground. Okay, and what would I expect next? I would look for a breakout and then for them to manifest another consolidation over the prior consolidation. That's what I would look to happen next. Okay, so don't be surprised if you see that happen. So there's XLE. All right, let's take a look at USO. Okay, let's take a look at USO. There's price action for USO. Nice candle there. Not the right color, but still good. Higher low, higher high. Closing over a bullish trap. Closing over a hooking 17. See, the hooking 17 has gone from red into green. All right. Trying to make an uptrend for itself. It has to take out this wick up there in order to negate the downtrend. It's almost there. It's very, very close. Still in a downtrend. This is a pullback in a downtrend until it breaks that wick, and then it will negate the downtrend status and convert it to an uptrend. Okay, as of right now, it is a pullback in a downtrend. Price action, USO, okay, over the trap, over the hooking 17, over this 3-year high anchored VWAP. Okay, this is the post-COVID high back in 2022. Over the 3-year high anchored VWAP, over the uptrend line, right there, that's the gold line, over the midpoint, almost knocking on the door of the upper third up there. See that? That was knocking on the door of the upper third of the bullish zone up here. So it's just still neutral, but definitely knocking on the door of the bullish zone. So there's USO, all right, in a nice, it's in a pullback right now, okay? And it is acting more bullish than it is bearish at this time. Nice V bottom, okay? We like that, okay? It's better than moving down and holding the lower ground like we've seen some of our other ones do. So there's USO acting more bullish than bearish. Let's take a look at high flyer UNG. All right, here's high flyer UNG. This is nat gas, got a lower high and a lower low, closing under a cross. That's a bearish cross. See how the yellow line is now crossing from up above underneath the white line. That's a bearish cross. All right, it's in the upper third, so that's bullish. It's over the uptrend line, so that's bullish. They almost made a higher high. They failed to take out that high. So they're in a pullback in an uptrend. So they're now actually in a downtrend because they made a low and they made lower lows. Okay, so they're actually in a downtrend right now. All right. From the bigger perspective, it is a pullback in this bigger uptrend, which is probably viewable on the 3-day as an uptrend. But you can see price action up over this is a 12-month high anchored VWAP. It's in the upper third, so that's bullish. It's above the uptrend line, so still bullish, but still in downtrend mode till we make higher highs, okay? Because they made lower lows, that puts them in a downtrend. Okay, so there's UNG. Almost popping that high. Had they popped that high, they would have the uptrend. So there's UNG on the daily charts. Take a look at GLD. Gold makes a new all-time high. It doesn't get any better than that, all right? It's bullish. It's in quadrant 4. You can see the pink line. It's up over a prior all-time high. Okay, it's up over the green dots. It's up over the trap. It's up over everything. It's a new all-time high. So there's GLD. SLV. SLV also in an uptrend, making higher lows and higher highs. So that's an uptrend. Price action, lower, looking like an inside day. Okay, lower high, higher low, closing under a bearish trap over the rising 17. That's the green dots. Okay, up here in quadrant 4, that's bullish. Okay, this is a 12-year high anchored VWAP and a 6-month high anchored VWAP right here. It doubles as both. Okay, so 12-year high and a 6-month high anchored VWAP. We are up over that pink line, that anchored VWAP right there. That's bullish. Okay, holding the higher ground is a bullish environment. That's bullish as well. Let's take a look at SMH. SMH, okay, what do you see first? It's down here in quadrant 1. That's bearish. Okay, higher low, higher high, closing under a trap, under the falling 17, under the all-time high anchored VWAP in the lower third, still bearish. Now we go look at the sibling to SMH, or the cousin. It's the XLK. There's technology, higher low, higher high. We'll zoom out so you can see this. Okay, higher low, higher high, closing inside a bearish trap, under, see the red dots, under the falling 17, under the all-time high anchored VWAP, all right, that pink line, under the uptrend line, under the midpoint, about to break out of the lower third. Still bearish, all right, still in the lower third, but about to break out right there. All right, so possible move here in the XLK. All right, so maybe they start a new uptrend right here or relief rally. XLK, nice move on XLK, almost breaking out of the lower third. Not enough mustard, not enough spinach, so still bearish right there. Okay, let's take a look at IYT. Here's the transports. Inside day, lower high, higher low, closing under a bearish trap. Under, see the 17, under the falling 17. Under the all-time high anchored VWAP, that'd be the pink line. Under the uptrend line, notice, I'll zoom out. See, it's in the lower third, still bearish. Okay, so in order to have a robust rally, we got to have something working for us. Okay, right now, I'm going to hit financials next. Okay, right now, small caps and mid caps are not working. Okay, FNGU, I put the quad lines on this earlier. They're trying, all right? They're trying, all right, in order to have that robust rally, but they're still stuck in the lower third. And that, you know, they are moving up, all right? They have put in a V bottom, but still stuck in that lower third, okay? That's still bearish down there. Now, maybe something happens overnight, okay? And we wind up coming back up to the midpoint and start to challenge this. So we don't have the small cap and the mid caps. Okay, these are the heavyweights right here, FNGA, still bearish there. All right, back over here, transports aren't working. All right, still bearish there, making lower highs and lower lows. All right, you saw SMH is bearish. XLK still bearish. Okay, tech usually leads every rally, and we don't have SMH or XLK. Okay, the last component of a robust rally is the XLF. Okay, but we need more than one. All right, we need like everybody to support here. Okay, so XLF is bullish. Notice it's in the upper third, but this alone cannot sustain a rally. Okay, it needs help. All right, you need tech. You need something else with it. All right, and it's not looking good. All right, maybe something will happen this week. I don't know. Inside day, okay, closing. I'm just going to call it inside a bullish trap over the 17. That would be the green dots. Over, see the pink line, all-time high anchored VWAP. In the upper quadrant up here, that's bullish up there. Okay, so that's it. So we don't have anything working for us other than the financials. And that's nice, all right, but it's just not enough. Sound? Is the sound bad? Can you guys hear me? All right, okay. All right, good. All right, that's it for me for today, all right? I had some good trades, and I think you guys followed me on a lot of those good trades. Okay, I traded. Well, I had some puts, and I cleaned out of those. I have a put spread, and I cleaned out of some of those puts there, and I made money on the calls. So I played some 3 DTE calls right here, and I made some money on those calls. And then I had some 6 DTE that I bought by accident, and I accidentally made money on those. All right, nice, you know. It's nice when that happens. And I made some money on these puts that were part of a debit spread, and I closed those out right there. So this is where I sit right now. I currently have 2 contracts for Amazon. They're the 210 calls, 80 days till expiration. I got 2 contracts for Rig. They're the $4 strike, and they got 45 days, and I'm positive on those. This is part of a spread. These will overwhelm those, so I'm not worried about that. And then I've got 1 of the 565 calls, 3 days left. 21 of the 566 calls, 1 day left right there. So I'm not worried about either one. You can see this one's positive. This one almost erases everything that we lost right there earlier today. So that's it. I had a good day. All right. And let me just say this. A lot of people in the room had some wonderful days. I want to point out Jim S. had a great day. All right, in here, Jim S. Alan had a great day. Mel had a great day. Bobby had a great day. Fido had a great day. Rickster had a good day. B had a good day. Bobby, if I didn't say it once, I'll say it again, had a good day. Mel had a great day. A lot of people had a great day here in the room today. All right, so well done, everybody. Congrats to everybody. You can see it all right here, okay? Well done. Brad had a good day. Brad's going for the trifecta. He had a daily goal Friday, Monday, and today. Way to go, Brad. Stu had a great day. Rally had a great day. JB had a great. Lorene had a good day. Everybody, a lot of daily goals today, okay? Look at Jim S., okay? 12 daily goals. That's a Grady Pig Award right there. Way to go, Jim S. Love it. All right? Yesterday, let me tell you this twice for Alan. This is the second time last month that he did over 10 daily goals. Alan, yesterday, was the second time in March that Alan got 10 daily goals. Way to go, Alan. You rock. I love it. All right? Again, I can print profits. B had a great day. All right? I can print profits, but it doesn't matter. It's what the people in the room, what I can teach them to how to make profits, all right? And you can see they're all very happy with their profits. They're very happy being in this room, all right? So if you're out there, this is your first time watching one of my videos, all right? Think about coming on over. Alan, end of day, 4.5 goals, all right? 4.5 daily goals. All right, that is awesome. You know, you add that to the 10 he made the other day, plus the 10 he made earlier in the month. I mean, that's a 25% gain just in those 3 days. And I know he made more than that. All right, that's a 25% gain inside of 30 days. And I'm sure it's much more than that. Harry got 6 daily goals. All right, it's crazy. The guys love it in here. And I hope you consider just picking up a trial. I mean, I think you're really missing out. I'm dedicated to making you a success. All right, love it, Harry. Yeah, way to go. Love it. All right, I'm dedicated to making you a success. I do free coaching. All right, that's how dedicated I am. I want you to succeed. All right, that's it, guys. I'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. All right. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.